Watch out for stalemate. How many times have you been in a situation where you're destroying your poor opponent, and then, boom, stalemate? To keep your computer safe from being completely obliterated, you want to constantly pay attention and look for stalemate, even if you think you're 100% winning. Here, white is absolutely destroying black. However, if you make a super low IQ move, love queen to c7, that'd be stalemate. Activate your king. In the endgame, your king is your main homie. The rules say that whoever gets their king into the endgame first will be 1,000,000% more likely to win. Like here, both kings are not activated, so the position is a draw. But if your king is in the center, your opponent is as your king will grab all those pawns on the queen side.
Sir, are you all right?
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! I think you need an ambulance, not me! No, I'm fine.
Passed pawns should be pushed. If there is a passed pawn on the board, not blocked by any of your opponent's pieces, you most likely want to push it forward. This ugly little passed pawn can very quickly turn into a beautiful queen, which can smash your opponent in the endgame. In this position you have a passed a pawn. Push it, baby.
Don't touch me, King. Only my uncle can do that.
I'm your dad. I can do whatever I want.
Ah!
Try to create passed pawns. Because they are so OP, even if you don't have a passed pawn, you want to try to create one. Normally you would do this by advancing your pawns, trading a few pawns, or even creating pawn breaks. Here, you can create a passed pawn on the A file by trading your original A pawn with the black pawn, successfully turning your B pawn into a passed A pawn.
Baby, are you in endgame? 'Cause just looking at you makes me want to create a few passed pawns on you.
Passed pawns should be supported by your pieces. When you have a passed pawn like this, don't blindly push it right away. Support it with your rook first, then push. King and queen checkmate strategy. When your opponent is down to his poor king and you've got your queen, you need to box off your opponent's king little by little, and then eventually, when the box is as small as possible, bring your king into the game as support so you can deliver the checkmate. Be careful with stalemate though. King and rook checkmate strategy. This is similar. You want to push your opponent's king slowly towards the edge of the board. With your rook, bring in your king to cut off your opponent's king's last escape route, and then bring in the final checkmate with your rookie boy. 2 bishops, and bishop plus knight. If you only have 2 bishops, or a bishop and a knight, it's really hard to checkmate your opponent. So don't get yourself into this position. If your elo is less than 2,000, you'll most likely draw and look like a fool. 2 knights cannot force checkmate. You cannot force your opponent into a checkmate when the only thing you have are 2 knights, like in this position. What you can do, however, is try to flag the shit out of them and make them run out of time. Flank pawns are hard to stop, especially for knights. In this position, you have a knight and 2 pawns while your opponents only have 1 pawn. You might be thinking you're Gucci. But in fact, you're f***ed. White will just push their pawn, and there's nothing your knight can do. 2 connected pawns on the 6th rank beat a rook. What would you choose, a rook or 2 pawns? Most of the time you should really choose the rook brah, at least if you want to win. However, if the 2 pawns are connected on the 6th rank, they're stronger than a rook. In this position, black tries to prevent the pawns from promoting, but there's nothing he can do.
What do you 2 puny pawns think you're going to do? You're no match for me.
Exactly that! What is going to happen? This is not how the game is played.
Further advanced pawns are more valuable. This is pretty logical. If you've got pawns that are more advanced on the board, they're going to be much more valuable than those slow pawns that are still on their starting squares. Like how here, black might think that he's going to win because he's got 3 passed pawns. But that means because white's passed pawn is promoting to a queen. Opposition is important in king and pawn endgames. Opposition is a position where your kings are chilling and looking at each other like 2 long-lost lovebirds, with only 1 square in between them. In this position, white has the opposition because he can move the king to f6, facing the black king, forcing it to move to either side. Any move is bad for black, because white will advance the king next move, and create the legendary red carpet for the pawn to promote.
Whoever moves first is a
Yeah, well, I'm not moving. Fine, Nora, I'll go first.
ho!
Rooks should go behind passed pawns. Here's a rook in front of a passed pawn. It sucks for the white rook because its movement is very restricted and can't move anywhere. Because of that, this position is a complete draw. In this position, however, the white rook is behind the passed pawn. Not only is it defending the pawn, but it can also move from a1 to a6, while still keeping an eye on the pawn. It has a much wider range of motion, and because of that, white is completely winning.
You're safe, pawn. I'm watching.
I don't know, Rook. It's quiet. Too quiet. Rook, knight incoming.
I see him.
Nice shot.
Told you, kid, you're safe.
Connected, protected, flank pawns. The order pawns from most OP to less OP is connected, protected, and then flank passed pawns. Connected passed pawns perfectly protect each other as they march forward, protected passed pawns are protected by other pieces, and the flank pawns are harder to support by, are still pretty useful in the endgame. Opposite colored bishop endings are drawish. If you've got a dark bishop and your opponent has got a light bishop, the game is pretty much guaranteed to end in a draw, cause both of the bishops only control a certain amount of squares, and neither you nor your opponent can make any progress. Bishops are better than knights with pawns on both sides of the board. If both you and your opponent have got some pawns, it's much better to have a bishop than a knight, even though they are both worth 3 points of material. This is because the bishops are super good long-range dudes, and can cause trouble from afar, while knights just ain't that good in this situation. Here, for example, the bishop is controlling 2 massive diagonals like a real one, and the knight is chilling in the corner being all useless. In queen endings, watch out for perpetual check. If both you and your opponent have a queen, you always want to watch out for perpetual check, which is what happens when your opponent keeps checking you, and your king has nowhere to run. Perpetual checks will cause the game to become a draw, and you to break your computer or phone. In this position, despite being down on a lot of pawns, black can keep checking and checking and checking until the game becomes a draw. In rook endings, cut off your opponent's king. If a rook is the only piece you have in an endgame, you want to cut off your opponent's king immediately, to stop him from gobbling all of your pawns up, and you're good to go. In this situation, as you see, white has successfully blocked the black king off, and black can't do anything about the fact that the epic king and pawn are coming to promote and smash the black king. Wrong bishop and flank pawn is a draw. If you have a bishop and a flank pawn, and your bishop doesn't control the square your promotion pawn will get promoted, you're saying bye-bye cause your opponent's king can just block your pawn from being promoted. As you can see here, the black king is already chilling on the promotion black square, and as white, you pretty much can't do to win. Zugzwang. While Zugzwang may sound like a German car, it is actually a situation where any move a player makes will be a one. In an endgame, recognizing and making Zugzwangs for your opponent is crucial to putting them in a losing position. In this position, white play the freaking brilliant move, rook to a6. Any move that black can possibly play will fuck him in the butt. If black takes the pawn, white plays pawn to b7 checkmate. If black moves the bishop anywhere, rook takes a7 is checkmate. This is the ultimate Zugzwang baby.